The truth behind the Mariel boat lift and how it impacted my family. The FBI had a lead, a tip from America's Most Wanted, and fingerprints. Prints that were already in the system, belonging to men who never should have been here in the first place. But before I tell you what happened next, we have to go back because the truth starts long before the crime. It starts with a political decision that changed everything. I wasn't always politically involved, but everything changed when my aunt, who worked at a law firm in New York, called our family one day. She had been doing research on the men who the FBI were looking for that were responsible for the crime against my sister. And what she found stunned us all. They were part of the Mariel boat lift. At the time, I had no idea what that even meant. I had never heard of it. But once I looked into it, everything made sense. And what I learned made me realize just how much political decisions can change lives, even destroy them. What was the Mariel boat lift? In 1980, Fidel Castro opened Cuba's ports and allowed over 125,000 people to flee to the United States from the port of Mariel. The U.S. saw a wave of boats, mostly from Florida, bringing over Cubans who wanted to escape. Some were political dissidents or families wanting freedom, but many were prisoners, criminals, and patients from mental institutions that Castro deliberately released. Why did this happen? Cuba was struggling economically, isolated from the United States since the 1960s. Castro used the boat lift as a political weapon. He wanted to embarrass the United States and export his problems. He took advantage of the moment. President Jimmy Carter had a more open, humanitarian approach to foreign policy. Castro would not have tried this under Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, or Ford. They were Cold War hardliners. But with Carter, he saw weakness, or at least an opportunity. U.S.-Cuba relations before the boat lift? Well, Kennedy imposed the full embargo after Castro nationalized, or essentially took over, American businesses in Cuba. Johnson and Nixon, they continued the hardline stance. Zero tolerance for Cuba, no diplomacy. Ford, brief attempt at back-channel talks, but fell apart when Cuba got involved in African conflicts. So by the time Carter took office in 1977, the U.S. and Cuba had been frozen for nearly 2 decades. Why the boat lift happened under Carter? Well, Carter tried a softer diplomatic approach. He reopened small diplomatic offices and eased travel restrictions. But when a group of Cubans rushed the Peruvian embassy for asylum in 1980, Castro seized the moment. He opened the port of Mariel and said, "Fine, you want to leave? Go." He emptied prisons and mental institutions, sending thousands of criminals to the United States. Carter didn't stop it. He allowed it in. The American cities like Miami were overwhelmed from all this influx. One of those so-called refugees killed my sister. He wasn't seeking freedom. He was escaping prison. The U.S. didn't know who was coming in, and we paid the price for that. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. Foreign policy isn't abstract. It's not about headlines. It's about real lives. Mine, my sister's, my family's. We talk a lot about immigration, about borders, about who gets in and who doesn't. What happened in 1980 is a cautionary tale. When leaders are naive about dictators, when we don't screen who's coming in, when we try to look humane without protecting our people, it's not compassion, it's negligence. And the consequences don't just show up on a chart. They show up at your door. I know, because they showed up at mine. And we will get to that soon. But my sister paid the price, and so did countless others. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. Foreign policy isn't abstract. It's not about speeches or headlines or handshakes. It's about real lives. My life, my sister's life. This isn't just history. This is warning. And I'm not done telling it. We still haven't heard my case.